What is up, everyone? Welcome to Just Offside, the weekly MLS show where we take your comments and talk about them. My name's Alan.
My name is Louie.
And guys, we are back with the second episode this week. Us being gone for the 2 weeks, we felt like you guys deserved a little something special, so we decided to record an episode for this first knockout round in the MLS playoffs.
Because we love you.
Let's start off this week with the first round of comments, which came from DCU TV. He gave us his actual predictions for the knockout round. He said New York City FC over Union 3-1.
Which you got right.
Yes. DC over Crew 2-1. Timbers over Dallas 1-0. And finally, LAFC over RSL 3-0. So 1 out of 4 for DCU TV. Not that great, but we also weren't that hot on our predictions either. So it is what it is, DCU TV. We feel your loss and we're here for you. And staying with DCU TV, he actually asked another question. He said, great stuff as always, guys. Who's your favorite for MLS Cup? So my personal favorite, I think, is the Red Bulls. I think their team is really built for it this year. I know they've been kind of spooked by the playoffs in past seasons, but they just, something about them, they have that kind of determination. My second pick is actually Seattle.
I like your prediction for the Red Bull, but I also they don't convince me. You know what I mean? Like they've won Supporters Shield 2 other times and they've failed in the playoffs many other times, and they're just not convincing me quite yet. But my pick might actually surprise people. I think that the Portland Timbers have a gritty squad, and maybe they're not everybody's favorite, but they're the people that I'm going to be putting my vote into. Originally, if you had asked me, I'd probably say Atlanta, but I think Atlanta's going through way too much turmoil right now with a lot of the off-the-field stuff, so kind of thinking that Portland might be able to just, keep it going. The Goat asks, favorite teams outside of MLS? That's pretty easy. Both of us are Man United supporters. Been for majority of our lives, so Man United. And then Lucas Zigo asks, it's a big one. As a Bayern fan from Germany, I can say it is most likely the right move for him. Our coach Niko Kovac already said he is going to fit right into the first team where he is going to learn from world-class players like Robin, etc. And Robin and Ribery, aren't getting younger nor faster. And with 34 and 35, they're on the verge of being able to not only compete in the Champions League, but as it is at Bayern, trying to win it every year. With Kingsley Coman and Serge Gnabry, we have 2 young prospects on the wing, taking that into consideration. There's also place for him in the squad. Also, Coman and Gnabry are very often injured, and just like Robin and Ribery, so his is going to get playing time no matter what. So he's talking about Alphonso Davies, because I was voicing my concerns about him moving over to Germany and not getting enough playing time. And I guess he does point out some good points. Both Ribery and Robin aren't getting any younger. And I get it. There is a chance that he will get some play time. Someone else brought it up to me that even if he doesn't play week in and week out in Germany, the facilities and the training that he'll be getting there is most likely better than what he's getting here in the MLS. And I think that kind of persuaded me to think their way as well. But I just don't want him to get his talent wasted, is my whole point with Alphonso Davies. So hopefully he goes over to Germany and just kills it. That's my true personal wish for him, but, And alrighty, guys, that's it for the comments for this week. But make sure you're leaving your comments below throughout this episode. Tell us what we think is stupid, comment on what we ask, I don't know, say something. And moving along to this week's action. Starting off with the game that honestly felt like deja vu. New York City FC versus Philadelphia Union, 3-1. Same teams, same stadium, same results. Pretty much the same thing that happened on Sunday.
Yeah, last episode I said I thought that Philadelphia Union would maybe learn from the loss and learn how to counter New York City FC's offense, but they really didn't. They kind of just fell into the same monotonous style of play. They got a consolation goal at the end, but really New York City deserved the win.
Philly just didn't look that great overall. I think New York City really did a good job at home of just really, really putting a dominant performance to just kick off their playoff campaign. Which is good to see, because as we've said many, many times on the show, they weren't really in the best run of form going to playoffs. So maybe these 2 wins against Philly will kind of keep propelling them forward. It'll be very interesting to see kind of where they go from here. But yeah, overall, very dominant performance from New York City.
Yeah, New York City FC's front line was really playing really well. We saw the Villa Morales connection working out pretty well for them. What I did like seeing was New York City FC capitalizing on 2 pretty bad passes. One in the Union's attacking field, the other side on defense, but New York City FC capitalizing on the errors, getting their goals, and making Union really pay for it.
The whole forward line for New York City seems to be clicking. They're gelling together and playing really, really well. That Tajori Shradi goal was exquisite. The whole thing was just beautiful. The beginning of the play, the way he finished, it was just everything about it was like, it blew my mind when he scored that. I was like, wow, that was like from that point forward, it was just all New York City, because he just opened up, like, it just set the tone early on for the rest of the game. Like, it was a beautiful goal, and from then on out, New York City just kind of pounced and dominated them. So
yeah, it stunned me watching. I think it stunned the Philadelphia Union even more playing. So shout out to you. That was an awesome goal, first time volley. It's stuff that dreams are made of. This is what dreams are made of.
So after facing I don't want to call it an easy challenge because it was the playoffs, so I don't think any game is easy, but after kind of beating Philly pretty handedly, New York City FC now have to go up against a very, very good Atlanta side. So our question to you guys is, how does this New York City attacking line match up against Atlanta's defense? I think that'll actually be a very fun matchup. I think David Villa and Morales can really cause some problems for that back line for Atlanta. But I also think that Atlanta's a very solid team, so I think it'll be a good matchup either way. But let us know what you think, guys.
All right, guys, next game on the list, FC Dallas versus the Portland Timbers. The Timbers, Louis' pick now to win the MLS Cup. Valeri put Portland Timbers over the edge. He showed his class and showed why he is such an important player for them. He scored both of the goals in the Timbers win. Timbers actually went down at one point to 10 men, one of their defenders getting a red card. FC Dallas didn't have enough firepower to get past them. And overall, I think FC Dallas was pretty disappointing. Stadium was empty. Weren't that many people. I mean, so many empty seats. So I think overall, Portland deserved the win.
So two things on that. First, Diego Valeri, his performance, beautiful. And what I love the most about it is that in this MLS, where it's been overtaken with these new superstars in Carlos Vela, Joseph Martinez, Miguel Almiron, basically everybody who's an MVP candidate this year, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Wayne Rooney, Diego Valeri came out and showed that it's the old guys. I don't want to call them old, but I'm saying like the more veteran MLS stars. You know, he was the MVP a couple years back, and he came out and said, you know what, guys? Like, yeah, that's great that they're here. It's good for the league, but I'm still here. His performance was like, this is still my league. I'm still one of the best players in the MLS, and he absolutely showed that. That free kick that he had, oh my God, spicy. And he was just phenomenal performance. And quite frankly, FC Dallas deserved to lose. Not because their team was bad, but because their stadium was that empty. Like, I'm sorry. Texas teams, y'all need to figure the hell out, because there's no way that for a team like yours that was in first in the West for a majority of this year, and you go into the playoffs, and you have less than, they said that it was reported 10,000 people in that stadium. I will bet my life.
Round it up, probably.
Round it up from like 4, maybe. And like, it baffles me. It baffles me. You've been in the league for so long, yet you can't seem to figure out, like, bring fans, which is like such a stark difference from the next 2 games we're going to talk about. But it's just like, you deserve to lose. I'm sorry. If there's no one there supporting your team, why do you exist? I get it. You've been there for the longest time. You do not need to exist, FC Dallas. I'm sorry.
And that closes off the Louis rant. No, but I agree. I mean, I think at some point that it's on both spectrums, right? The team has to do something to bring the fans in, which you can say that they did by performing pretty well in the MLS this year and being top dog for a long time. But the fans also have to show some interest, have to go to the game, support their club. So hopefully that gets sorted out in Dallas. I think Dallas is a great city. They definitely have support for sports teams. So I'd like to see a little bit more interest from them. Or it just doesn't make games exciting to watch. I mean, it's an MLS playoff game. There's a lot on the line. You want to see fans in the stands making noise, making it difficult for opposing teams to come and play. And we just didn't get that in this game.
Audience out there, or what's going to happen with Austin FC finally joining the MLS, and now you have 3 teams in Texas? What's wrong with Texas soccer fans? I get it. You guys are obsessed with high school football for whatever goddamn reason, but can you actually pay attention to maybe some professional sports aside from the Dallas Cowboys? Just saying. Also, am I insane to be picking the Portland Timbers as my pick to make it and win the MLS Cup? Let me know. You know, at one point I thought people were going to get mad at me saying so many bad things about Dallas, but then I realized that they actually have to have people who care about FC Dallas before they get mad at me. So
FC Dallas Reddit page probably has like 10 subscribers.
Like one guy commenting on like 4 accounts.
It's gonna be the guy who writes for the FC Dallas like feature report thing. Like that's it. He's the one that's mad at you.
That's pretty much it. One dude. Sorry, Greg. Whatever the fuck your name is. My bad. Finally, to the 2 phenomenal games that we got to experience last night. Starting off with an absolute nail-biter in DC United versus the Columbus Crew. This game was everything you expect and want from a playoff game, and it was amazing. The atmosphere was bumping. The stadium was, I don't think they could fit more people at Audi Field. It was jam-packed, and there was just so much drama, and it was so fun. It was just fun. As someone who does not support either team, but I do have an appreciation for both, I think that it was just a very fun game to watch. To continue with that thread of older MLS kind of veteran stars, Higuain came out and showed again why he's also as important to the MLS picture in comparison to these new stars as well. Higuain came out and just scored a brace, a really good, well-taken brace too, and it was just a good showing from the Columbus Crew, because despite the fact that I felt like DC United were dominating very big portions of the game, the more clear-cut chances were falling to Columbus.
Yeah, for sure. It was a great all-around team performance from Columbus. They capitalized on the chances that they had. But I think one thing we need to talk about for sure is DCU's stars failing to deliver in the penalties. Two guys, Acosta, Rooney, that we've been talking about all season long since the show started, really. They didn't deliver in the penalties. Both of them getting their penalty saved. They both shot it almost in the exact same position. It was just disappointing. Obviously, they had such a great rise getting into the playoffs, and to see them kind of go out like this, I don't think it was necessarily deserved. A stark contrast to the storyline we've seen for them so far in the MLS.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Rooney was relegated to trying to pick up the ball deep during the actual game, trying to make things happen on kind of his own, and Acosta was doing everything he possibly could, but Columbus were just defending really well in regular time, and they weren't giving up. It almost felt like Columbus did a thorough analysis of how DC plays, and were negating them every time they got in the box. And so they were kind of relegated to these other off half chances. Just think of the two goals that DC scored. The first one off of a header, and Brilliant almost died trying to get that ball in, but it was a great goal on his part. And then you had De Leon coming in and scoring a beautiful goal to tie the game in extra time, which was just adding to the drama. But those were two goals they came off of these little half chances almost. They weren't beautifully crafted goals that we've seen DC score through Rooney or through Acosta, but it wasn't from what you'd expect, right? In the penalties, I don't necessarily want to blame Rooney and Acosta, because I think Zack Steffen, man of the match. He made a lot of good saves in the regular time for the game, but also in that penalty shootout, he guessed most of the right sides. Rooney's penalty, I don't know if he read the way Rooney was his run-up or whatever it was, but Rooney took a pretty well-taken penalty, hard to one side, but Zack Steffen was just phenomenal. And from the guy who was nominated for goalkeeper of the year, this was a man-of-the-match performance. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, and this is coming off of last week where we were asked if Bill Hamid was one of the best goalkeepers in the MLS. We saw here a kind of a meeting between two of the top goalkeepers in the MLS. Zack Steffen came out ahead. You're right, to your point, he did prove that he's a top goalkeeper, and we like to often discredit the forwards in a penalty kick and without crediting the goalkeepers. He did make two really good saves, and he kind of pushed them into the next round.
Yeah, and Bill Hamid, great save on his part too, and it sucked that what this game came down to was Nate De Leon missing that penalty. Because how quickly you go from being a hero to also being a villain. You score a goal in the last couple minutes, a very good, well-taken goal to put your team to tie them 2-2, to take it to penalties. But then you go up for the last penalty, and everything about it was wrong. The way he went up to the ball, his stance on the ball, he leaned back, everything was just wrong. And so to go from hero to villain in the span of 15 minutes, that must suck.
Yeah, it's not great. And NASA just reported early today that his ball reached the moon. So that's nice.
But man, one thing that I want to talk about again is those DC fans. When they scored that second goal, the camera was bouncing in that stadium, and Audi Field was absolutely bumping. And everybody was singing, everybody was chanting, jumping. It was the whole stadium. It felt like everybody there was truly behind this DC team. So it sucked that they couldn't pull out that win, but there should be no shame in how those fans went out there and did it. It was awesome. And kudos to Columbus. I mean, it's a great prize now that they get to continue into the playoffs knowing that their team is saved. And that's a really kind of feel-good story too, right? So it's kind of like really awesome that they get to continue on in the playoffs and keep showing their fans that fought so hard to keep them in Columbus that they're there for them too. So,
and moving on now to another set of fans that really put on a show for us. In a game, LAFC versus Real Salt Lake, LAFC fans were there. They were making noise. LAFC, Real Salt Lake, a game with so many goals, a really exciting game. Real Salt Lake obviously came out ahead, playing away from home, a result that I didn't expect. I think you didn't predict it either.
And no one on our Instagram predicted it either. So we ran the predictions that we did from Monday's episode on our Instagram, and everybody voted LAFC pretty much. I think out of the 80 people who voted, it was 70% voted LAFC and whatever the other percentage is for Real Salt Lake. So
30.
Can't do math, friends. I can't do math. But it was crazy. It was that result and the DC result. Everybody on Instagram got both of those games very much wrong. Man, like you said, the fans were out and they were so loud that the 3-2-5-2, you guys are nuts. That safe standing area there, you guys are genuinely insane, and I love seeing it because that stadium after the goals and actually throughout the whole game, but especially after the goals, it was just so loud. But in terms of the actual game, RSL they were getting truly dominated by LAFC. I'm pretty sure LAFC had a majority of possession. They were taking the game to RSL. It felt like every single possession was LAFC booking it up the field and putting a ton of pressure on Real Salt Lake. But Real Salt Lake defended so well too. They put in a shift. They almost, I don't want to say they parked the bus, but they kind of parked the bus and just brought out that defensive they literally put up a wall, and it was really good to see on their part, and it was a good performance from their defense.
Yeah, and for Real Salt Lake, Krylock came out, and he was balling, man. He's been such a key figure for them throughout the season. We've seen him shine, score a bunch of goals for Real Salt Lake. He came out in this game, and he said, I'm going to take this by the neck, and that's exactly what he did. He proved that he still is a key man for Real Salt Lake, and moving forward, he's going to be the guy for them.
What was really interesting about this is that after RSL scored their third goal off the Walker Zimmerman own goal, it was RSL had more goals than they had shots on target. That just goes to show you that RSL genuinely only needed a few chances to score, but LAFC were dominating. I think the corners in the game were 12-2. It was absurd. I actually feel really bad for LAFC supporters because I don't know what else their team could do. You maintain possession the whole time. You dominate the game. You have really good chances, but you just can't score.
It's one of those things where, and going back to your point of us being wrong and everyone being wrong with respect to the scorelines, I think that's one of the most amazing things about the sport is that oftentimes we can get caught up in the momentum and the hoorah of the teams that are the glitz and glam and
the narratives,
right? The narratives and all these storylines, but oftentimes it's just teams put in a shift, and it's what makes the sport so amazing. It's that you really can't predict anything that's going to happen.
Especially in this game where imagine being RSL, right? And you're playing in the stadium where the people are literally a foot away from you, and they could basically touch you if they wanted, and they're screaming at you like a bunch of lunatics, and then they start throwing shit on the field and all of this. Imagine being the RSL team and going, damn, we have to play here, and then to come out with a win that way, that was really, really good on their part. But my question to you is, I don't know if you saw this part, but play got stopped in the first half for about 5 minutes while they started to pick stuff up off of the field because the 3-2-5-2 behind the goal kept throwing crap at Nick Raimondo. And so what was interesting is that I was watching this on Unimas, and the two commentators in Spanish were talking about how one of them found it absurd that they stopped the game for this, and they're like, this is absurd, this is a soccer game, if you want, his exact words were, if you don't want stuff like this to happen, you should stay home and play FIFA or play video games because that's what you guys are looking for. This is real soccer, this happens. And then the other commentator was like, no, but they're throwing stuff on the field, someone could get hurt. The guy was like, it's a plastic cup. It's a plastic cup. One thing that he said is with the news coming out that MLS teams potentially might be playing in the Libertadores tournament, they're like, this happens in the Libertadores every single game. Get over it. Be men, all this stuff. And I was like, that's an interesting point. So my question to you is, how wrong was it to stop the game to clean up the field?
It wasn't wrong. It was just very soft. He's right. If MLS teams want to play in Libertadores and they want to go to the River Plates, the Boca Juniors, these games where your lives are at risk. Like, how many times have we seen cops go out and have to protect referees? It's something that happens every week, and if we're stopping games because a red Solo cup was landed on the field, like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I'd understand if there was a bunch of rocks, and we've seen rocks, coins, things that hurt people, things that can actually cause damage. If those things are getting thrown on the pitch, absolutely stop it. Try to control the fans. But when it's balloons, confetti, red Solo cups, like, it's stuff that doesn't need to stop a match. It adds to the atmosphere. I do agree with him there, and it's seriously going to be a wake-up call for MLS teams if that's going to be the standard that they're used to going into Libertadores.
Yeah. So this morning, before I came here to record this, I was going through comments on YouTube of a bunch of different things, especially over the LAFC game, and people were talking about how. And so the other thing that they were trying to give the LAFC supporters shit for was the puto chant they did at the end. So Nick Rimando is wasting time, and Mark Geiger's doing nothing to speed up the game. They're already in extra time. Nick Rimando, I remember watching the end of the game. 30 seconds on the clock it took him to take a goal kick. And every time he would kick the ball, they would yell, puto! And it was like, the people were talking about how disgraceful LAFC fans were and how it was a disgrace to the sport. And I'm like, come on, stop being soft. Like, this is a sport. Like, this isn't like, no one is like attacking him. Like, they're just calling him, they're intimidating him because he is taking long. Like, this is against the rules. You're not supposed to take long on a goal kick. And if the referee's not doing anything, intimidate the other team's players. Like, I don't understand why the MLS has to be so soft. Like, LAFC supporters, they're lunatics. I'm with you. I agree with that. They're crazy. But no one was hurt. It was plastic things being thrown. They built the stadium that way. And so my question actually is this going to be a problem in the future? Do you think it's going to be a problem? What's going to happen with the stadium, with the fans being so close and the LAFC supporters?
I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think that they're going to be deemed as kind of the bad boys of the MLS if this continues, which is okay. I think that actually adds some scariness to the team overall. I think that I actually want them to continue to do it because I think there's this very soft culture right now in American sports that hopefully the MLS can break a bit of it. I mean, things have to be too nice at sporting events, which you obviously don't want to see violence, and there's a fine line between it. LAFC fans are showing that they can be scary without causing real violence, without hurting people. Just screaming out some swears. Games don't have to be necessarily family friendly, I don't think, but it adds to the atmosphere, it adds to the environment of the game and going to match days, and it gets people excited.
Yeah, and I mean, you almost can't have one without the other. You're not going to have the crazy LFC supporters that everybody's like talking so glowingly about being so excited and energetic in it, and then all of a sudden they're not supporting their team in the way that they do. You can't have both sides. So let us know, guys. What do you think? Are the LAFC supporters a problem? Were they wrong to do what they did yesterday? Or are you like us and think that it just adds to the atmosphere? I'd rather a full stadium of crazy people versus an empty stadium of soccer moms and people just sitting there, oh my God, this is so great. But on top of that, like I said, it really sucks that LAFC couldn't pull out that win because they dominated that game. Every possession was LAFC. So, guys, what did LAFC need to do differently on the field to really break down that RSL team? What went wrong for them, and what would you have fixed to make them have won this game? Because on paper and stat-wise, they had everything. Shots on target, corners, possession, everything that you would look at to determine like who had a better quote-unquote game. LAFC had it, but RSL moved on. So what was missing? What do they need to do? But I guess it's almost fitting for LA in a week where they lost the World Series that they also lose in the playoffs in the MLS. So sorry, LA sports. Kind of sucks to be you, huh?
And so with that, the MLS playoffs are now going to be in full swing in this weekend. We're really excited for the matches that are to come. I personally think that the East is stronger than the West coming into these playoffs. I think that the MLS Cup champion is going to come out of the East. So, guys, if you disagree with me, let us know in the comments below. Or even if you agree with me, let us know who you think your MLS Cup champion will be, and we will shout you out in next week's episode.
All right, so let's go through our rapid-fire predictions for this first leg of MLS Playoff Action this weekend, starting with Columbus Crew hosting the New York Red Bull. Go!
New York Red Bull 2-1.
I say, so Columbus are at home, but I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. Portland Timbers versus Seattle Sounders at Providence Park. Go!
Seattle Sounders 1-0.
I think it's going to be the opposite. I think it's going to be Portland Timbers 1-0. It's going to be a crazy game, and I'm excited to watch those two fan bases. That's a phenomenal matchup. 1-0 Portland. New York City FC hosting Atlanta United.
Atlanta United 3-0.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go Atlanta United 3-2. And then Real Salt Lake hosting Sporting Kansas City.
Louis, I'm going to go 1-1 draw.
I think RSL is going to buckle down, park the bus again, and come out with a 1-0 win.
Wow.
But let us know, guys. What are your predictions? Again, no one won our prediction for this week, so leave your predictions in the comments. If you guess all 4 games right, we'll send you something for free.
So that wraps it up for this week's episode, guys. As always, if you enjoy the episode, be sure to click that like button and click the subscribe button. It really helps us grow the channel. It helps us do a lot of the things that we want to be doing, be here week in, week out. So we really appreciate it if you do that. Please also leave your comments, leave your predictions for anything that we have said in the episode. We appreciate your feedback, so leave your reactions below.
And if you want to interact with us, put your predictions on the Instagram. You can follow us at Trebl Soccer. We will be running Instagram stories with polls of which team, and that way we have a cool idea of who our supporters support.
And there we are, guys. Peace.